coming back to school with me. We could have done it all so easily.
Hi, my name is Craig Thompson-Wood. I'm the board game teacher. Thanks for coming to the classroom. Today I want to talk to you about a game which I was just recently introduced to, and that's the game called Dragons Rampant. Now, Dragons Rampant, before I go into the report card, just give you a little bit of an idea of what it's about. Dragons Rampant is a tactical fantasy miniatures battle game. So if you're familiar with the things like Games Workshop produces, the Warhammer line, it's very similar to that. Dragons Rampant, though, is... I'll talk a bit more about some of the things as I go through the report card, but one of the nicest things about Dragons Rampant, which I'm going to say up front, is that it doesn't have its own miniatures line. So, and it's actually the opposite, so where they don't even care about the miniatures to the point where you could use literally any figures that you have available to you, which is one thing that I really like about it. And I'm going to talk about that more afterwards. So overall, it's a very accessible game, cheap, easy to learn, and I'll be talking about it a bit more after the report card. So look at the report card for Dragons Rampant. I'm going to give the number of players a B-. Now I give it the B- because normally I say like 4 players is the upper limit. Well, this game is at its heart really a 2-player game. So why am I giving it a B-? Why am I being so generous? Well, because there is nothing to say that you couldn't have a multiplayer battle. You couldn't. I've seen things on Facebook, on the Dragons Rampant page on Facebook, where and friends of mine have even been involved in games which had multiple players on each side. So you could have as many players as you want, really. At its heart, it's a 2-player game, so that's why I kind of give it on the lower side of the B. But because of the flexibility, you could play as many players as you want. It just might get a little bit unwieldy, or it might just be limited by the space that you have available to play. But really a 2-player game, but with certainly the possibility of going beyond that. For the learning, I'm going to give the game like a B+ to an A-. Now, it's kind of a bit of, wiggle room. I mean, certainly a great score for the learning. What I love about it is, one, that you're getting into these books, again, where you're going to be doing reading, and in constructing your army, you're going to be doing some simple mathematics. Really, the points of the armies only add up to 24. But how you are adding, subtracting different things onto the units, and then adding it all together, just playing with those numbers, just getting that familiarity and that comfort with playing with numbers and putting numbers to a practical purpose, like constructing in a game, is this kind of game construction, this kind of thing with building armies and using points to build armies and playing with the numbers and tweaking things, was exactly how I myself got much better with my number sense when I was younger. I was a terrible math student when I was young, but it was through the playing of games like this that it started to make things click for me. And so I think this is a good introduction to that. I also think for the learning is great because, while Dragons Rampant is a fantasy-based system, the original game, as I understand it, was Lions Rampant, which is a historical-based system, and then they added Dragons Rampant to then add some fantasy elements to it, so that you could have something fire-breathing dragons and ghosts and zombies and all kinds of things fighting in with the armies. But through the publisher as well, Osprey has a whole line of different war games, which, if you like this, it can really sort of branch off into reading and learning through these other things. So they have like Napoleonics and all sorts of different historical battlefields of different time eras. So this could be the kind of game that opens things up and creates a new avenue for learning in all kinds of different directions. So that's why I give it, up to the A-. But that's sort of the conditional there, too. So, but certainly I think that the learning potential is great in this game. For fun, I'm going to give the game an A. I've played a few games so far, and I really like it. It's a very quick system, very smooth. It's very easy to learn, fast, fun pace, and so that's why I give it the A. For time, I'm going to give the game a B. Now, that's with the caveat of understanding this isn't obviously something you'd be playing in a classroom. Like if you're going to play this, possibly at a school club, once all this COVID stuff is over and we can go back to school again. But there could be opportunity for a club, before, after school, or maybe even during a lunch hour. But you would need a good hour to play, and there's ways to sort of calculate points and things if you don't complete the missions that things are set out. But it's certainly something that could be played. You need about an hour to play, and that would be something that could be done. So I think that at home you can certainly stretch it out to much longer, and it can make for a fun afternoon. But it's still got that flexibility. I think it's a good for what it is. I think it's quicker than some other war games I played, and for that I like it. The streamlined speed of the game. For cost, I'm going to give the game an A+. It's an A+ for me because like I said, we're talking about a fantasy miniatures war game here, and usually when you get fantasy miniatures war games, they're selling you on miniatures, they're selling you on dice, they're selling you on the books, and then maybe for each army is going to have another book, and it gets very expensive. I mean, to spend $1,000 on a Warhammer army is not difficult at all. But for Dragons Rampant, one, you could buy, if you want, the book online in a PDF form for, I think it was like $6. I can't remember now, but it was very cheap, very cheap. And to buy a soft cover of the book, it's about $15. So again, really inexpensive. And I bought both in a bundle, and then I got a discount on top of that. So I mean, it was really, really inexpensive. And then for the miniatures, like I said, the Osprey, the company doesn't provide miniatures. They actually specifically want to stay away from the whole miniature side of things. So what do you play with? Well, that's the beauty. You can play with literally anything. You could get toys from the dollar store and make up them as your army, and you could then decide on what their abilities are, their strengths, what kind of unit they represent, and go to town. Have fun with it. The whole idea is just to have fun with the game, not take it too seriously. Have fun. And so when if you have Warhammer miniatures, play with them. If you have miniatures from another game system, play with it. Or if you want, like I said, use Fisher Price, and from any game on my shelf that has miniatures, I could pull the miniatures out of that and create an army for it, and just say this is what they are, and away we go. It's the beauty. That's one of the things that's the most beautiful part of the system to me, is because is that complete flexibility for things to play with something that is fun for you. If there's something you like, put it on the table. Let's go. Let's do it. And so that also then keeps the cost very low, because you're not chasing down expensive and miniatures, which are going to be costing a lot of money to buy, and then for units and things. It's just, you can buy whatever you want. So if you like models from, like I say, Games Workshop and things, they're expensive, they're beautiful, but they're expensive. Or you can do the cheap route. And that. So that's why I give it the A+, because it has that complete range of flexibility on how much you want to spend. And the initial output cost to play this game at its most basic levels would be certainly very, very inexpensive. You could do it for under $20, which for a fantasy miniatures war game is astoundingly good. So for this video, I'm not going to go into, normally I say let's take it to the table, see how it's played. I am not going to really do that for this game, because what I want to do is I've decided I do want to do a full rules explanation of this game. So look for that video coming up soon. Later this month, I will be doing a full rules explanation on how to play Dragons Rampant, and then I'm also planning on doing this month a battle report, where I'm going to do a battle report showing how the game is played. So for those of you who learn better by seeing it in action, that's going to be a way for you too. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. If you have any questions about Dragons Rampant, or if you have any ideas for things and other games perhaps you might like to see me discuss on the channel, things that you might think are good for the classroom, or just good for promoting overall education in different ways, like I explained how Dragons Rampant does for math and into historicals and things, please leave me a message in the comment section below. Let me know those games. And if you have any other topics of discussion you might like me to talk about, pedagogical or anything you think that you might like to hear more about with regards to games and gamification, board game-based learning, please leave me a message in the comment section below. Until next time, I'm Craig Thompson with the Board Game Teacher, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back to school with